Hello, and welcome to ADDEV Materials podcast, Bold Entrepreneurship. In this episode, we will talk about external growth, and more specifically about the challenge for an independent company to integrate a group using the example of ADDEV Materials, who has acquired Parafix in early 2023. We welcome Steve BARWICK, General Manager of Parafix, Franck POIRIER, Chief Performance Officer at ADDEV Materials, and Matteo BIANCO, Integration Project Manager at ADDEV Materials. Steve, Franck, Matteo, hello.
Yeah, good morning, Mai.
Hello, good morning.
First of all, we will make a short introduction about your personal background. Franck, are you okay to start and introduce yourself?
So on my side, I joined ADDEV pretty recently in January this year, and I bring 20 years of experience on international assignments, leading global operations. So basically, I've been exposed running global operation mostly in US and in Asia, but as well in Europe. I've been as well pretty exposed to acquiring companies and being acquired. So basically, I have both views, and I think I bring this kind of benefit to the current process at ADDEV.
Thank you, Franck. Matteo, you joined ADDEV Materials a bit earlier than Franck. Were you working on M&A integrations before Franck arrived? And what is your personal background?
Yes, that's it. So I arrived about 2 years ago now, and I started as an intern with Julien Duvanel, the CEO Aerospace and Defense, and working on lots of subjects as the integration of Supavia, a distributor in Paris. And to talk about my personal background before ADDEV, I'm half Italian, half Ch'ti, so I started my study in the north of France, and then I did my master's degree in entrepreneurship in Lyon, and I discovered and work in the startup world, which is a very stimulating environment. So after that, as I said, I joined ADDEV for my internship, and I learned a lot about project management, financing, business model modeling. And ADDEV offered me a great opportunity, a permanent contract that allowed me to work with all departments, HR, finance, IT, to the future acquisition and integration. So I really think this position and ADDEV are the perfect fit for me with my entrepreneurial mindset.
Thank you, Matteo. External growth is at the heart of ADDEV's strategy. How many acquisitions has ADDEV made since its creation in 2006, and in which countries? And how have you developed your expertise and M&As?
So basically, the acquisition story of ADDEV is pretty impressive, with more than 22 acquisitions over 9 countries. But there's a pattern that ADDEV followed. There's about 4 periods. The initial period, mostly in France, where basically ADDEV was starting and did acquire smaller entities and consolidate. There's probably a second one that was more focused on the converting specialty. So they were moving from distributing to converting business. And that's the second period. And then the third one, that is probably the most demanding one, was the international growth. So where basically here ADDEV did acquire the key position in terms of global reach, mostly in the US. And finally, the last one is really focused on aerospace and defense, with pretty impressive as well a story in terms of acquisition, organic growth, and combined benefits. So basically, in terms of the second aspect of your question relative to the expertise, so I would say that basically, first, the company did learn by doing, and basically it's kind of a story about, combining internal skills and external skills by adding new employees, but as well building knowledge and expertise by doing integration and acquisition. So this expertise has been, I think, built over the years, has been recently documented, and Matteo did a lot of work on this to help the company as well follow now a certain process that, for me, coming from more international background and larger companies, is pretty impressive, actually. So I think the company did a good job of formalizing different type of acquisition, and I think now is in a position to be pretty effective. And we will cover, I'm sure, later on as well, the DNA of ADDEV that makes this integration very special.
So Parafix is the latest acquisition made by ADDEV Materials in the beginning of 2023. Steve, can you introduce yourself and Parafix activities as well?
Hi, my name's Steve BARWICK. I'm the General Manager of Parafix. I've been at Parafix a long time, 33 years. Started off firstly in a customer services role and then quickly moved into an internal sales position. And then again, maybe a year or two after that, I moved out into an external selling role. Firstly on a regional basis in the south of England, and then I moved into a more market-focused role, selling specifically into the electronics market as the company grew. I did that for about 3 years, and then I moved into my first management role with the company, which was the sales management, and then I've moved into a commercial management role. When the managing director decided that he wanted to be more hands-off and took a chairman's role, that's when I got promoted to the general manager. In terms of Parafix, we've been converting adhesive tapes for over 50 years. We were there right at the kind of start of the market, and our aim has always been to push ourselves technically so that we're at the highest level of converting capability that we can be. And now we've got a nice broad customer base, and we sell into our biggest market, which is healthcare, but we also operate in industrial, electronics, automotive, defence and aerospace markets. And yes, we were acquired by ADDEV in April of this year.
Franck, how did ADDEV Materials find Parafix? And how do you identify potential acquisitions in general?
So basically, ADDEV is always developing its own strategy that is mostly kind of common in the industry, right? So one is to expand their portfolio, and basically it's one thing is, as I described earlier, was moving from distributor to a converting and potentially even specialty manufacturing. So to do that, you do it by organic growth, or you do that by acquisition. The second one as well is to become the market reference in the converting business, at least in 3 strategic sectors such as aerospace and defense, healthcare, automotive, and by extension as well in the industrial market. And the last one is the geographical reach. So it's being able as well to expand its presence globally. So based on these 3 vectors, ADDEV has a pretty well articulated approach to create a funnel and to basically screen companies that corresponds to this kind of 3 expansion directions. And on top of it, there's a size effect. So basically, ADDEV is always looking into companies of similar size with more kind of family background or ownership. So there's a kind of mix as well of the typology of companies. So when you combine all of this and you go to Parafix, basically Parafix is bringing to ADDEV unique capabilities in Europe in terms of healthcare. So basically it's a new sector for ADDEV. So this integration or this acquisition was very strategic in a couple of directions. So in terms of technical capabilities, market capabilities, and as well somehow our geographical reach, right? So that's the way it has been done. So I think later on we will cover the specificities of how we approach and how we develop integration. But that's basically the way ADDEV manage M&A activity.
Thank you. And what are the reasons that brought ADDEV to acquire Parafix? What were you interested about, Matteo?
Yes, so the deal rationale was pretty clear for Parafix. So with Parafix, ADDEV becomes an European leader in medical-grade tapes converting with strong industrial capabilities and reputation on the market. So basically, we wanted to gain market share and obtain the certification ISO 13485 in the UK. And then we discover a great team at Parafix, which confirm our desire to work together. And to talk about the healthcare strategy, so we want to continue to grow with Parafix and to reach a critical size more globally on this market, as you know, a multi-local player, which is in our DNA.
And on the other side, Steve, what were your impressions of ADDEV Materials at the time of the acquisition? Have you already identified any synergies?
Yes, so as I was saying, in Parafix's growth, you need an entrepreneurial mindset to find new markets and new applications to grow the business. And it was clear that ADDEV on a bigger scale and through their acquisition strategy have had that same entrepreneurial approach. And so, there's some synergies there, and it's clear that ADDEV takes the corporate social responsibility very seriously, which is very important and becoming more important. The other synergies, of course, we're operating in the same markets. Obviously, ADDEV is stronger in some, and Parafix is bringing the healthcare strength to the group. And it's the same really in terms of purchasing power, machine capability. So whilst we bring something to the table, there's clearly a bigger purchasing power and some converting capabilities in the group, which we can also benefit from.
Franck, what are the ADDEV Materials strengths that encourage acquisition?
So basically, ADDEV Materials has a specific DNA around entrepreneurship, as Steve mentioned. So basically, the key element, as I think in terms of attraction, is the fact that ADDEV speaks the same language as the targeted acquisition that are usually a kind of more niche players that are more in the entrepreneurial side of the business. So basically, they find in the group the same culture, and the group as well makes sure that this DNA, around reactivity, ownership, developing markets, taking risk, can be really found in the group and rapidly. I think the acquired company, and Steve can talk about this, but can really find the same or speak the same language. And the other element as well is the acquired company can see the benefit of belonging or joining a larger group in terms of the digital aspect, the information system, and potentially even the HR elements. So there's kind of a winning factors around the DNA, I would say.
And Matteo, what are the main different phases of the full integration and how long does it last?
Yes, so if we talk more globally, we have different phases in the M&A process. So one, screening. It's what type of company we want to acquire. So we define deliverables by strategic business areas, and we identify companies according to these deliverables. Two, qualification. So basically, we create a file and search for the main information of the company. So key figures, sales, EBITDA, the market, the capabilities, products, and the certification. And we write a deal rationale to define a strategic value. Three, the approach. So we approach the company and confirm the common interest to work together. At the end of this stage, we sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement for the confidentiality. Four, the negotiations. So at this stage, we define the acquisition scope, the exclusivity period, and the valuation of the company. And we talk about the first synergies identified. So at the end of this phase, we have the LOI, so the letter of intent, who formalize all these aspects. So our intention to acquire the company. After, we have five, the due diligence. So basically, we do some checks before the acquisition of a company. So we do legal and financial due diligence with advisory, and we do internally a strategy and operational due diligence. After that, we define the integration policy. So how are we going to integrate this company? And at the end of the due diligence, we sign a SPA, so the share purchase agreement, so basically the acquisition contract. We agree about the conditions of the acquisition, and after that, you have the closing. And finally, the integrations. So to start the integration, we have the 30, 60, 90 days. So basically, it's a checklist and first actions by department. So we do detailed audit, and for example, we integrate Parafix into our segmentation, financial report. And it's very important that at the end, the outcome of this part is structuration of sprints. What sprints? So sprints is small operational teams with group reference and Parafix teams. So we'll work together on integration projects according to Parafix needs and integration policy. So the outcome is to connect the right people who speak the same language. And after that, approximately six months after the acquisition, this is the end of the integration, and it is the end of the integration phase and sprints. But the integration team will keep some strategic project like the ERP switch.
And when you integrate a company in the group, what are the main changes you apply? And what do you keep from the original company?
We don't have any general rules for integrating a company. It depends on the integration strategy and the needs of the companies. But we can define 3 levels of integration. The first one is preservation. So we are not making any changes to the existing process and organization. The second one is symbiosis. So it's more a give and take approach. So the group will be, of course, able to support Parafix with a new tool, for example, and new processes. But also, on the other way, we took, for example, the Parafix SEO marketing tool as a group tool. And the last one is full integration. So in this level, it's you make a lot of integration changes, like merging 2 legal entities and 2 systems. It's important to say that we do an integration for synergies. So very quickly, we can define 4 types of synergies. So the financial synergies and accounting harmonization. So it's the lowest level of complexity. The cost synergies. So it's like the quick wins right after the acquisition. So we work mainly on this with the purchase in order to have short-term results. The efficiencies, synergies, so they are more complex to materialize. For example, increasing efficiency with a new tool. And the last one is the revenue synergies. So basically, they are the most complex to do. It's more a mid-long-term impact on the top line.
Steve, did you have any specific expectations regarding integration? And are all the Parafix employees really involved in the integration process?
So, unlike Franck, who was telling us earlier about being involved in many acquisitions and also being acquired a number of times, I've worked at Parafix for a long time, so I've never been integrated before and therefore had, I guess, fewer expectations. But it was clear that, linking the business would be key, especially around the financial reporting and the IT. The integration obviously started for the directors at the pre-acquisition stage, and we were supporting a lot in terms of some legals and some financials and customer and supplier information. And then post-acquisition, and the 30, 60, 90 days and the sprints started to connect the wider team. That's when we saw more involvement from the rest of the Parafix staff. So we'd have IT, supply chain sprints, commercial sprints, etc. And that's when more staff became involved in the process.
What are today's synergies between ADDEV Materials and Parafix? And how can ADDEV Materials Group's strengths support Parafix to grow in the future?
Well, I'm a commercial guy at heart, so I typically look at this through the customer's eyes and what benefits to the customer. I touched on it before, but we have a very strong purchasing power now. Parafix had already forged its own relationships with suppliers, and a lot of those, there are already relationships with ADDEV directly already, but I think on both sides we're bringing either new suppliers or more weight, more purchasing to those suppliers. So that works in both ways. I see it also in terms of the machine capability. So whilst we are proud of the capability that we have and we're very advanced in many areas, we don't have it all. But I have seen that in the wider ADDEV group. So there's a much wider machine capability available now. And as I say, that really is a benefit for the customer because there's a wider choice of materials, there's a wider choice of machines that we can process those materials on, which opens up new applications within our existing and potential customer base. The other big benefit that I see is the international reach that we now have. So whilst we have many overseas customers from Parafix, we are quite UK-centric in terms of our footprint. So being able to call on ADDEV colleagues in other parts of the world to go and support my customers locally is a huge advantage.
Franck, what are the priorities for a good integration in general?
Yes, on this one, our CEO would like to say that there are 3 golden rules that are, I think, very true. Is the first one is make sure you do as well as before. So it means once you acquire the company, make sure you can deliver the same as what they used to be able to deliver by themselves. So do not deteriorate, right? The second one is basically that avoid to lose key people. So basically this, the recipe of the, let's say, the success of this acquired company is based on the key people. So we need to make sure we don't create any issue at this level. And the last one is don't try to diversify the acquisition and try to build then growth from the existing capability. So these are the three rules that are very important. And on top of it, I'm adding as well trust. So trust is a difficult animal because it takes time to build. You can destroy very rapidly. So basically that's why we with Matteo, we build this 30, 60, 90 days and the sprint phases. So basically create a frame that can create as well confidence that we know what we are doing. And basically it takes time to build first the core teams. And as Steve said, basically the sprint is there to connect the wider teams and create a moment of trust in terms of competencies, speak the same language, and finally have fun as well. So we basically with Parafix we had fun. This was a very good integration in my view.
Steve, for you, what are the main challenges of the integration step?
I would say the integration is a fair amount of work. I know Franck and Matteo put a lot of time in, and also it takes a lot of time from me and my key staff here. So it's important not to take your eye off the ball because you do need to keep your business running alongside becoming integrated. And as Franck alluded to there, we want to make sure that we are integrating our staff well to make sure that we feel part of ADDEV. But I know ADDEV are also keen for us to retain that entrepreneurial spirit and promote our own DNA within the wider ADDEV group. So I'd say they were the main challenges.
Matteo, can the integration process you build with Parafix be a useful tool for future acquisitions?
Yes, so basically Parafix is our POC, so proof of concept for our integration process. So it, of course, will serve as a basis for future acquisition and integration, but we have to do at the end of the integration the project post-mortem, that to understand what has been done well and above all the problems we have had to face. But definitely we have to improve and adapt according the company this process. If according the business, if it's a converter, a distributor, a manufacturer, which market and the specific needs of the company. And it's important to keep the co-construction and human approach in this process. And we have to remain flexible and have the opportunity to discover and take some initiatives. And I will add something today is that we are doing the integration with Romain, a VIE program at Parafix. So I recommend you to listen to the podcast episode on VIE. So it's a very interesting program that enables French companies to hire young people on international sites. So this is a great opportunity for young people who want to discover a new culture and to be part of this entrepreneurial experience with us at ADDEV.
And to conclude, I would like to have your personal feedback about what is, for you, the main point to a successful integration. Matteo?
Yes. So for me, the key point is definitely people. So we have to federate around the integration project to make it success. So you have to get the teams involved and to define clear milestones and objectives.
And for you, Steve?
As ever, it's always about the people. So making sure that the people are connected, sharing the vision and can work together. I think for us, obviously understanding ADDEV's long-term vision. Clearly, that we're proud that they saw that there was a reason for acquiring us. So we need to understand why that was, what the long-term vision is, and how Parafix fit into that. And of course, realising the many synergies that there are between the two businesses.
Thank you. And Franck?
Yeah, for me, I like to take the example of the getting married and joining your new family. So you have to. It's typically the case here. So it means you have to understand the rules of the family. Make sure that as well the family creates some space for you to exist and to create value, right? So that's for me. These are very important aspect for the successful integration. And this takes time. And as well, we have always in mind not to give too much lessons, right? So it means that Parafix, for instance, did bring some best practice that we need to recognize. So it's a way, I think, for us to open our doors and create, again, room for building trust, right? So that's basically for me, what I would call the family concept.
Thank you, Steve, Franck, and Matteo, for joining us for this episode of ADDEV Materials Bold Entrepreneurship. We'll see you soon for a new episode. And if you like this one, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel and give us your opinion. You can also follow us on our LinkedIn page.